Okay, Saturday afternoon, session 2 today. I know we already did 4 hours. Couldn't get enough. Need to knock these guys out. Start working on the next ones. You guys just haven't been following along. This is where we are on the Amorites. This is 15 figures of 5 stands of 3 figures each for the fast blades. And here they are. These guys right here. Pennies, of course, are temporary. Be kind of cool to do a skirmish game with them based like that. Anyhow, yeah, took a break. Did some other stuff today. Did the lawn mowing. That took about 3 hours. And yeah, this is where we left off. Got these guys done. Got our next batch of 5. That's what we're going to work on. Hopefully between today and tomorrow we'll get them knocked out. Start working on 2 stands of fast auxilia. Well, I may do this solid auxilia. The figures look pretty cool for that. And the chariot. And we got some camels that we glued on here. These camels here. You guys know who manufactures these 2 camels? Let me know. This one's a tin soldier, pretty sure. So, anyhow, always, I know lots of figures if they have pictures of them online, but if it's a defunct company that's no longer around anymore, that's before my time. So, let's get back into the roll here and get some of this moving on. Got a good turnout this morning. Hopefully we can do the same again. All right. Yeah, I had to have some coffee. I was falling asleep. We don't have time for that. If you guys hear any banging, neighbors next door are taking down their deck. So, you might see that in a little bit. All right. Let's get some of this core color in here and the black. Actually, I think this guy was done. We got done with him. All right, we just need to work on these 4. Yep, there it is. Bang on. I'm sure you guys can hear that. It probably picks up things I can't hear. And I can hear that pretty well. There's a gauge on here that supposedly tells you what the, well, it's not on this page, but it's on a different one. And sometimes just the speed of the fan, it'll show like it's picking it up. So it's pretty sensitive. Did we turn the picture upside down? I hope I did that. Let's see. Let's check with the old Jack Daniels. Here we go. We remembered to do that. I want to make sure people don't. I wanted to make sure people realize that I'm not worth a damn with my left hand. I want to give some false illusions there. I actually picked the right day to mow today. It didn't rain. It wasn't that hot. It was just a lot of hunched over stuff. So my back was hurting. My back was uncomfortable. Not my back was hurting. My back was uncomfortable, but as much as I don't like doing yard work, need to forces you to get some exercise going. And all right, let's have more of this core color in here. Probably be on here for an hour and a half, something like that. Try to knock out some of this stuff, get a head start on tomorrow morning. Noah should be able to knock this thing out tomorrow. Really want to spray these guys, put them on the base, see what they look like. So if we spray by the time that we're done in the morning, I'm still going to have to goop in the middle of the day. With any luck, I could paint that at the end, but basing 5 stands sounds like it's pretty easy, but it's going to take a couple hours. It's going to take a couple hours to base the 5 stands. See if I can't find. See, look at this brush. Look at this brush. See if I can get this to focus. It's got a little tip bent at the end. You know, there's no way to undo that. Not with these cheap ass brushes. Well, we got plenty of brushes to choose from. We got plenty of brushes to choose from. So. I think they're tearing down the deck next door to get at a tree that they need to take down because it's destroying their house. It's these peoples in these towns, they do crazy stuff. They'll put a tree that's massive right next to your house. You'll wonder why it's destroying everything. And hey, I'm all for trees, but you know, a 60-foot tree should be 60 feet from your house. Not like right next to you where it's destroying everything, you know. Then it gets too big to be able to remove. They won't even let you remove it. So. So we got all next week. We got next weekend. And then the following week. And then we're out of time. And sometime in there, I need to do some awards for the show. Whew. All right, let's add a little bit more of this core in here. Well, I hope we get some activity. It's going to be hard to stay awake. So these figures are different, and they have almost like a suspenders, something like that. It's holding up like a little tiny breastplate in the middle. Okay, let's add a little bit of this. Call these guys. This guy looks like a 24-inch inseam. Short little legs he's got. There's one. There's another one we used successfully. Yeah, last time I bought this bunch of brushes, I had gone to a place I no longer go and bought 7 or 8 packs of these things. There he is, Mr. Peter. Back at it. Jawohl. Yeah. Yeah, I was out doing lawn work for about 3 hours. It took a long time. I had to take some breaks. It actually wasn't that hot. It was just a lot. And I was struggling to find something to listen to. Sometimes when you listen to something, it kind of takes you somewhere, so you're not being mentally tortured by whatever it is that you're doing. And I'm struggling to finish a book on Audible. It's the one called Killing Patton, and I'm struggling to finish it because I'm getting really annoyed with the author's meter. He's actually reading his own book, and he just mispronounces so many things. It just drives me bananas, but it's all right. It's just kind of jumping all over the place, and Not that it's hard to follow, just, So I left that for a little bit. I ended up getting a book that I guess has been around for a long time on Belisarius. That's kind of historical fiction, so to speak. It's got a lot of conversations in it that don't really have anything, that there's no way to prove that they really happened, kind of thing. So I listened to that for a little bit, and I went back to the Patton book. But yeah, I got to use up these credits. You don't know if you've ever used Audible, but you basically only get the credits for a year, and then they start disappearing. So I'm getting really close to the time when that's going to happen. So I need to be a little bit more proactive. The problem I'm having is I'm doing this instead of actually listening to books. But you guys have any recommendations of historical books? I might be interested in reading some historical fiction. That'd be right. DBA Army time period kind of stuff. I know there's several Roman things. I did finish one on Vlad the Impaler about a year ago. It was actually probably less than a year ago, in preparation for building the army. I forget what it's called, but it's got none of the vampire crap in it. It just has made up conversations and stuff like that. I don't think it was very good. I don't know. I'm always looking for stuff to be, captivating to listen to. I've even done a couple of fiction books, but I'm old school. My books have weight. I do too. I just can't get through them. I can't get through them. Well, the stuff I want to read, they don't make an audiobook. But the stuff I also want to read, I got to read with an atlas. Because it's complicated. It's complicated stuff. But, yeah, I do like books, actual book, but I just don't get through them. I just, you can't drive and read them. You can't mow the lawn and read them, You have to be reading them, and that's it. I give you an example. There's 2 books I had gotten from the same author. I believe his name is Robert Massey. And he's the guy that wrote the book on Dreadnought. And then the companion one, which is called Castles of Steel. And I got Dreadnought on Kindle. And I got through, 13, 16 pages or something like that. And it just petered out. And the Castle of Steel is available on audiobook. So I listened to that. Went all the way through it. So, it's actually a really good book if you're a World War I naval junkie. If you're not, don't even look at it. World War I naval junkie. That reminds me of one of those things that, and I mentioned this before, when you have artistic license, you're painting something historical, and there's some things that were, but don't seem right. And the example I always use is British vehicles in Northwest Europe in World War II. They used a white star on the roof for air recognition. I'm not going to put them on there. I just think it looks out of place. I don't care if they really did it. It just looks wrong. If you're playing some war game, people walk up to you and say, "Oh, what American vehicles are those?" Well, they're actually not. They're actually British ones, and they use the star as air recognition. No, I'm not doing that. Just like I wouldn't do Russian Shermans. Yes, they used them. Yes, they liked them, but I don't need Russian Shermans in my army. There's no reason to do that. And I just thought about another one talking about World War One. There were several High Seas Fleet ships that used a funnel that was painted red for recognition. Some of the light cruisers did it. A couple of the battle cruisers did it as well. I'd never do it. It just doesn't look right. It just looks like totally, it looks out of place. I don't care if they really did it. In my creative license, nah, I'm not doing that. Looks weird. Looks wrong, So, you wrote me a dissertation. Excellent. You prefer to read in English, but with COVID, it's hard for me to get new books. Fortunately, I have a large library, so I'm rereading books that I can't remember the details of. Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot to me. There's a book that I read, and I've read a fair amount of them, but now lately I just don't have time to do it. There's a book by, who's the guy that got into all kinds of plagiarism problems? Stephen Ambrose. And the guy that wrote the Band of Brothers stuff, right? There's a book of his that I read, and it wasn't that one. It was called Citizen Soldiers, and I remember really liking that book a lot. And it's available on Audible, and I think I may get it and just go through it again. I've got the copy here somewhere. I got the hard copy of it. Well, it's actually a paperback. But I read through the whole thing, and the paperback looks like it hasn't even been read. That's how I like to take care of stuff. There's no reason to. There's no reason not to. Yeah. I've got one paperback that I saw was on Amazon when I was selling some of my books a while ago. I realized it was selling on Amazon for like $200. Or someone was trying to sell one on Amazon for $200. That's probably more accurate. Because it's like out of print and stuff. It's a small book by a small bookseller here in Gainesville. And it's a guy that came to the store, and he was, when I was working at the hobby store, he was trying to sell it there. He's like, hey, I'm an author, and I'm wondering if you guys would be interested in selling some of these books for me. And I guess they did. I bought one of them off of him. This was probably like 1992, 1993, 94, something like that. And he's since died. I think he got some form of cancer. He was a young guy. He was only 5 years older than I was. Well, no, wait a second. It was in my early teens. Maybe he was 10 years older than me. Anyways, he shouldn't have died that young, but he got the C thing and died. And actually he's done 3 books that I know of. One of them was published by the Military Book Club called Siege. That was about the siege of Demyansk, I think. But I guess that is what it is. Yeah. The first book that I have by his was the one that somebody was trying to sell for like $200. And it's just a series of short stories, historical fiction called Madness Without End. And I remember reading them and thinking, that would make really interesting skirmish scenarios, but it's almost like horror related. I mean, there's no supernatural stuff in there, but there's horror things from the Eastern Front type of thing. You just finished one in a series on post-Roman Britain. They're based loosely on Arthurian legends. Unfortunately, only have 2 out of a 5-part series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, there's cool stuff out there. I just, the last book I listened to while I was painting was when I was about a year and a half ago when I was painting my dinosaurs. I was listening to Jurassic Park, the books. The first one and the second one. What's the second one called? The Lost World. And it was really, I had never experienced the thing that people say, the thing that people say is, oh, the movie's not as good as the books, or the movie's not as good as the books. Well, they don't make movies on the books I like to read because my books are very niche oriented. So I read the book after the movie, after I, obviously seen the movies, and it's interesting to see how they are different. And I at least in that book, I don't think the book is better than the movie. I really don't think so. It's interesting to see the things that are the same in both or very similar, and things that were things deviated from them. But at least the first book and the first movie are pretty close. They really are pretty close. So, the gist is kind of the same thing. So, there's some differences in them, but I haven't really read that much fiction. There's I really could tell you maybe 10 books that I've read that are fiction. Red Storm Rising. What's the Harold Coyle one? Team Yankee. Red Storm Rising, Team Yankee. An excellent book, which I don't know was on Audible. I think that I always mention this book. I don't know anybody who's ever heard of it before. Let's see if I can find it here. It's a book that would be banned in your country, Peter, because of the cover of it. It has a crooked spider on it. So, it's called The Berkut. Joseph Haywood. And this is actually, I got a lot of books from my, there he is, from my brother-in-law. And this just happened to be one. I picked it up. And this would make a great movie, but they would ruin it. And basically the gist of this is that Hitler fakes his death. And they send in a Skorzeny type guy to save him. And it's really interesting. And there's people that this is supposedly the name of a fixer for the Soviets that comes in and is tracking them down. So imagine it's kind of like The Fugitive with with an escaped Hitler. And it's really interesting. It'd make a great movie. How they escape from the bunker, and they run into some werewolves in the mountains there. Is it the Harz Mountains? I don't know. I've read that 10 years ago, maybe even longer than 10 years ago. But yeah, that was actually a really good book that was actually hard to put down. But that's a good book. Or at least I enjoyed it. But I like stuff like that. I like historical fiction kind of things, But yeah, that was a good one. And that's how I picked that thing up. He just gave me a bunch of books. I'm like, what's this swastika book? It's like, oh, a novel. I just started reading it. And I'm like, oh, Hitler's escaping. He faked his own death. A body double got it. Okay. Interesting. It could be true. I doubt it. Yeah, I don't think so. The ending of the book. If I remember correctly, the ending of the book alone is worth reading the book. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, I need to see if it's available on Audible. Yeah. Like I said, they make it in the movie, they just ruin the movie. Doug Redshirt, do I have a stream that you painted a flag on? I would like to see how you do flags. No. So, I haven't... Do I? I may have on Facebook Live painted this. The problem is they took the freaking Facebook Live stuff down. I may have painted this flag on Facebook Live. The other flags I've done, what I've started doing is going online, finding a picture that I liked of a flag, putting it in my paint program, which would be Sketchbook. And I'm not really good at those things, so I'm not a computer type person. But I do have a laptop that can turn into a tablet with the stylus, and go in there and basically take the colors and make them darker. So the same method I use here, and start lighting them up with the shading, and then print on a laser printer. The last couple ones I've done that way. I've done my flag for the Edward the Bruce, and the Hungarian flags are that way. What else? And I've done a couple flags for some other people as well. But I haven't hand painted a flag in a long time because it just takes forever. And I enjoy doing it, but it takes forever. And I think that that's the way to do it, is because if I need to make it again, it's just as easy just to go and do it digitally and print one out. The other flags I've done, I've also done other flags recently, but I bought the ones from Pete's Flags for the early Renaissance stuff, like my Spanish and my French and stuff. They have my medieval Germans have Pete's Flags, which are superb. I mean, if he makes it, buy his stuff. His stuff is incredible looking. I think he makes it really big, and then somehow he shrinks it. Anyways, super top quality stuff. I do have how I do shields. I've got several things of shields, but not flags. Am I going to do a flag? Probably not going to do a flag anytime soon. Sorry. They just take forever to do. And so I still want them to look good, so I'm probably going to do them digitally from now on. And it's not that they take for a long time to do. It's that you have to do both sides. So if you do it digitally, you can literally do one side, spend however long you need to do, shade it, and then flip the image. And now you don't have to do it on both sides with the shading and stuff. But by hand, you got to do both of them. So it's easy. The important thing when you're doing stuff like that is if you have... Let's see, do I have a pencil around here? Probably the thing you gotta pace yourself. And I know sometimes it's hard to do. I didn't used to do it very well. Let's see, I got a piece of paper here. I do. What the hell is it doing? Oh, batteries. Okay. Yes, I replaced my own batteries in watches. If you're gonna do something that's whether it's a flag, it's a banner like this, or it's a shield or something like that, is you got to pace yourself. So like, let's say I'm going to do a shield and I want to put a black eagle on it, like a German style black eagle. You don't just start painting over here. You got to like put a dot here for where the head's going to be, and one leg's going to be there, and the other leg's going to be there, and then the outside part is going to be there, and the outside part's going to be there. And then you're like, all right. And then you kind of connect the dots as you paint. So you come in and say you paint this center here, and then you do this kind of stuff. You do these lines so that you keep everything even, and then you kind of come in and go, okay, that goes there. You need to make sure you keep enough, as I like to call it, meat in between the edge of the shield and so forth, and just basically almost paint it like an armature, so that when you go in and start painting, you just kind of start filling the gaps and things and that kind of stuff. That's how you do shields. The same thing we do with flags. So if you've got it's just like when you write things on paper. Have you ever seen a kid that does like a poster, hey, welcome home or whatever, and the poster's like this, and you start over here going, well, oh shit, I ran out of space. You got to kind of plan it so you don't end up chasing it. You're chasing your own tail, so to speak. That's really the only thing I can I do. So if I was doing if I was doing something like this or a flag or something like that, you know, I find what the darkest shade is going to be. Like, let's say you've got this banner here that's, well, an example of these guys here. Okay, I did a really dark red. I paint the whole thing really dark red, the darkest one. Then I come in with like not a completely white, but I come in and I write okay, let's do the little symbolization for what it is. And then start, this is kind of dark gray and this is kind of dark red. And then I start highlighting this so it brings these things out. So it adds kind of like where it's a shadow. And then I bring in the red with a lighter red and I come in here and shade, but not all the way up to the edge, that kind of stuff. And just highlight so it kind of accentuates what you've got on there. This flag actually has an interesting history. This is a flag for a fundamentalist army called the Courage, and they had kind of a little motto that says there's no judgment other than the judgment of God or something like that. And this guy did he was following my channel and he's like, oh, I can get my Muslim friend to write that out for me. He sent it over to me and I'm like, that's perfect. I'll paint it on the flag. And obviously I don't speak the language or read it or anything, but I sent it back to him and he said his friend said I did a pretty close job. I said, well, I could do it, but this is the reason I built this army is, other than it's a really interesting troop composition, they have red banners, and that's not something you find very often as a Middle Eastern type thing with red banners. So that's kind of what sold it. So yeah, but that's pretty much what I do with everything, as I do the darkest shade and then work my way up. So I do the opposite of watercoloring. So when I have to do something that's watercolorish, it's really, really weird. But anytime you're doing like a shield like this, you just got to pace yourself so you don't have things that are misbalanced. If you got a shield that's that's going to be quartered or whatever, come in and draw up a line in the middle and then take a look at it. Yeah, okay, that looks good. All right, and then go, all right, well, where's the other midpoint going to be? It's going to be about here. So you drop it across. And then you make sure you get that where you want it. And if it isn't, at that point, you're like, okay, you paint over it and you fix that. And you go, okay, and go here. And then you stand back and look at it and like, okay, that's balanced even. Because everything you're going to be building is you're going to be going in the wrong direction. And you're going to be chasing your own tail and never going to be able to, and say, okay, well, I need to put a fleur-de-lis here. So what's the most basic way I can put a fleur-de-lis? Well, it's about this tall, okay? And we're going to put another one down here. It's about that tall, all right? And then it's going to have the leaves that come off of it, like this, okay? And then once you got that all balanced, then you go, okay, well, I will fill this thing up now and paint it. And so I can't remember right now what it looks like, but that's the point. You got to build basic shapes really thin with the paint so then you can modify them as you need. That's really it's simple. It's really simple. In one of them, I did the flag, where is it? I'll pull it out. I did the shield for Edward the Bruce, which is a blue lion. Quite back, I just got to find my Irish. He's on here. This is Robert's brother, who crowned himself King of Ireland and won an expedition to try to conquer the island nation, and it didn't work out too well for him. This is what I do now for flags, by the way. So this is a digitized flag. Let's move it this way. All these little shield symbols are hand painted. It's the part I like to do the most, more than anything else. Let's see if we... And when you do it, it's basically done the same way I normally paint my normal painting, but in the future I've actually done more contrast because some of it just gets lost. Like even, I'm painting something and it's really big and then it gets reduced really small, but this is his little motif, and there is the lion on his shield. And it's the same thing. I just broke down the lion into small pieces, just almost like a skeleton, to make sure it's all scaled well. And then painted around it. Yeah, it took a while, but yeah, you paint it one time and it's done. Same thing with this. These little squares, you just kind of set your armature, like, you know, go across and then just fill them in. And you just got to step away from it a little bit and go, okay, does everything look even? Does everything look even? Yeah, it looks even. Okay, next step. That kind of stuff. You just got to keep yourself on a short leash. That was explained very well. Refine that and teach that. Do a simple video for idiots. Well, it's not idiots. You just never done it before. And it's all like inventing the wheel. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. And this may work for me and not for somebody else, but you don't want... That's where experience comes in. Experience comes in that it's like, okay, well, it may take an hour to do that shield. It's about how long it took. But if you don't pace yourself, it would take you 5 hours because you have to go around and fix it, you know? So, I just find painting is so forgiving. Because first of all, if you've seen me paint, I paint very thin. So if I have to fix something, if you look at the side view of this shield and I put some kind of an emblem on it, it's not really thick at all. It's not like it's, oh, there's the old paint, I got to go over it kind of thing. And a lot of people just paint really thick, and that's why I'm always dipping it in this solution, because it helps the oh, this brush is too good. You are the new face brush. You stay over there. But yeah, you just got to pace yourself. It's just same way as you sketching. You know, the people that say, hey, draw me a person. They don't go in and just start drawing. They come in and go, okay, well, the face is oval like this. And let's put the center line of the face and the eyes, that kind of stuff. So that they don't get like pain. Well, this eye looks great, but the one next to it looks horrible because it's all out of whack. It's exactly the same thing. So, I'm surprised I explained something really well. I actually have a knack of doing a terrible job of explaining things. The purpose of teaching videos is how to pass on experience to others so that they learn without taking years to learn. Exactly. And I've done it too. YouTube's wonderful. You see people on there that are like, man, I don't know how to do this. And you see it. And maybe you'll watch a video and it'll show you how to do something. Or maybe you'll watch a video and it says, now I know how I never want to do it. So, yeah, I watched a video on how to paint those backgrounds that I have for my pictures. And I think this guy's done. Okay. Maybe it was this guy we were working on. And I'm like, you watch somebody do it, and it's like, oh, okay, it never occurred to me to paint the entire background in like a burnt sienna color. So I'm like, well, we'll give that a try. I mean, he's done it many times before, you know. And there's lots of great stuff out there. The basing video that I have on there, how I do the basing on it. The other thing that experience is really powerful is at certain points, you'll be painting and you're like, you know, this is not looking like it's going to get to me. It's not going to turn out how I want it to. And after doing it many times, you kind of realize at some point, I'm not going to be happy with the results. And you're able to reach that point before you get to the end of the figure. You don't want to get, okay, the figure's done. Oh, I hate how it looks. Like if you're like, say 10% and you go, if I keep going down this road, I'm not going to end up where I think I'm going to. And that just comes with experience. That's ultimately what you want. You want to paint. You want to be happy with your results are of painting. You need to be happy with it. Screw everybody else. I always think that the hardest person to please is myself with my own painting. So man, if I'm happy, that should be good enough for me. Like, hey, we'll use that other brush for faces, and then I use this one for faces. Hey, if this one can get me through where I need to go, then we'll just save that one for something a little bit more complicated. We'll save that for shields. Just like your games are always explaining. I think it's a lot of fun to talk about out loud. I call it self-coaching. Sometimes it helps yourself kind of process everything as well. Like, okay, I can't do that, so I need to do this. And some people don't like that. I've played with people that don't want to give anything away. By the way, what's my next army? Or I'm undecided yet. Oh, I know who it is. It's Dracula. It's going to be Dracula. We got too many cool things for him not to do him next. We got this camp to do for him. Look at this. Look at this. Here's his castle. Look at this. Awesome. This is already done. We got in Forest of the Impaled. Is this them? Or is that the other bag? The Forest of the Impaled. Here's the camp. I did an unboxing of these guys. Look at these 15 millimeter skeletons. And they're impaled correctly too. Right through the backside. That's what the camp's going to be. I don't know how durable these little guys are. There's a sharp point. Whoops. Yeah. So this is going to be the camp. This is going to be like a fort for him. I already have all the troops. Already have the Turks that he fights. Yeah, this is what's next. Has a lot of light troops, which means not a lot of figures on each stand. That's who's next. Then who knows what we're gonna do? Byzantines. I gotta get some Byzantines on the. I gotta get some enemies for my Ostrogoths. Byzantines. Yeah. Hello, Castle. Bye-bye, Castle. Yeah, this is from an Etsy seller. Doesn't smell like metal. Anyways, we're going to paint this thing up. It's pewter, unfortunately. It doesn't really need to be that expensive a material, but it is. Yeah. Yeah, all this should be on video. I don't try to I try to not paint not on video. The video forces me to stay on task. Even though you may have asked me about painting flags and I went off and it doesn't matter. I'm still doing this. If I don't film myself, I'll be like, oh yeah, who makes those figures? And the next thing you know, I'm surfing 30 minutes away and my paint that was on my brush dried. And no, this is what works for me. And if you catch the video, hey, that may benefit somebody as well. But this definitely is the best way for me to get stuff accomplished. So, but that is definitely what we're going to do next, as far as I can tell. Besides, everybody likes Dracula, right? Won't have them done for Halloween, though. It's a little too soon. But it'll be close. It's actually a pretty weak army, but he can have Polish knights as allies. I got Polish knights too. And a couple people that are dying for me to paint Polish stuff. We'll paint it all. We just can't do it all at once, Got all kinds of stuff got all kinds of stuff planned. Well, it's not planned. It'll happen. The only kicker is that, you know, I had to take basically a week off from filming games because I needed to get the Pope Army done. I needed to get them done so I could get these guys started. We need these guys for the series of games at the end of the month. So it's going to be close. It's going to be real close if we can get all the pieces done. All right. Oh, it's only the second one? That was further along than that. Oh well. Drink. Iced coffee, of course. You'll want that sharp point if they do that. Do it to you. Not me. I'm one of the good guys. The Middle Ages and early Renaissance is my favorite period. Mine too. But the armies always seem way too hard to paint compared to the usual ancients and musket areas. I do. I don't know. I like that stuff. I never cared for the musket era. I never cared for it. The uniforms just seemed too similar. I mean, yes, there might be different colors, but in style, it just seemed too much of the same thing for me. And I visualized playing the game, and it just seemed like it'd be like, oh, there's kind of only one thing to do. Now, Joel and Mitch have been playing this rule set called Maurice, and they really like it. And they said that that's not that way, but I gotta stick with this. I can't get into muskets and stuff like that. I don't really like the history of the musket stuff as much, so I can't do everything. So I think doing things between 3000 BC and 1500 is a big enough time period that I think I'll be happy painting lots of different things. So, like, I know people that all they do is American Civil War, and I'm like, if all there was American Civil War, I wouldn't be a war gamer. I just have zero interest in that. But that's me. Other people live and breathe that. So. I'm just addicted to the armies being this few stands. 'Cause I'd rather just build more armies than just have more and more stands of the same thing, So, you have a copy of Dreadnought. Yeah, I have it on Kindle. Didn't get very far. I like the physical book. A Kindle book, I just get kind of lost. I get kind of lost. I'm gonna need to get more coffee. I'll be right back. Yeah, I love that period. I love the shields and flags and all that kind of stuff. I keep saying one of these days I'm going to build a 100 Years' War French army. It's going to take so long to do because I want to get the... Well, the problem with that is it's going to be really difficult, you know, because you've got... They look very different around Creasy as opposed to Agincourt. So they look totally different. So I think what I would have to do is just kind of do a mixture of different things and just kind of roll with them, you know, because I'm not going to make Creasy Knights and then Agincourt Knights. That's silly, just to paint a bunch of them. So maybe split the difference, do the stuff in the middle. Anyhow, but that's just a typical army that lots of people have. I mean, and you know, the Harbocks, they have 100 Years' War English armies, so that's the reason to build them. But I already know how that's going to go down. That matchup is already, you know, I've already figured out how that matchup's going to be in my head. So from a painting standpoint, I may want to do them, but from a playing standpoint, kind of boring, you know, kind of a one-trick pony type thing. So I guess the people that were tearing down making all the noise, the carpenter, I guess it's reverse carpentry if you're tearing down a wooden thing. I guess they just, they took a break or something like that. Reverse carpentry. That's when you use the other side of the hammer and pull out all the nails that somebody else put down. Oh, I spoke too soon. Knock, knock. Alright, so if I get done with this figure here, I'm in the same condition that I was with the other figures this morning when I painted and knocked them all out. Which is kind of what I wanted to do. I knew I wasn't going to get these guys done. Knew that wasn't going to happen. Well, we will be back on tomorrow morning, hopefully before 6 a.m. and knock out the rest of these guys. Hopefully so. All right. I think we're going to wrap this one up. We'll see you guys in the morning if you choose to come by here. But, yeah, thanks for coming by. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And we'll see you guys next time. See ya.